In 1998, Eiichiro Oda created a gag profile for an unrelated quote-unquote chojin, also known as Pandaman, for the Kinnikuman tribute book Kinnikuman 77 Mysteries. He also appeared in a video game currently playing behind me, and remember, Pandaman was an Impel Down and canonically owns a fashion brand called Doskoi. So Uta canonically asks the reader in volume 4 billion, what's the difference between virtual reality and actual reality? And Pandaman's lineage factor has been recorded on even a poneglyph, the first ever poneglyph we've ever seen, telling me this ish is not on purpose. Oda, I see the writing on the wall. Tell me how Kid is not Wile the Coyote. I'm getting a little bit tilted at this point. Musical transition to next segment. So in one of the most important chapters in this entire series, chapter 738, reader requested cover, by the way. I see you, Stephen Paul. George Lucas, talk.
Anakin, kind of duplicating the Luke Skywalker role, but you see the echo of where it all is going to go. And instead of destroying the Death Star, he destroys the ship that controls the robots. Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme. Every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one. Hopefully it'll work.
Thank you. Why are we talking about this again? Sengoku, leader of the Marines, in charge of Impel Down, right? He's gonna be the next dude that Luffy cannot take a W off of, but instead solos all of the Marines. It was foreshadowed in this song here. Musical transition to next segment. In the dark times, will there also be singing? Yes, there will also be singing about the dark times. The ocean sees the beginning of the world, and the ocean knows the end of the world. Thus, it calls us towards the way we must take. Thus, it leads us towards a proper world, enveloping pain and suffering, greatly and kindly wrapping them up. Even if I were to disappear, the omniscient ocean leads the way. I must not fear, because you are here. I must not be timid, because my comrades wait for me. We must advance towards the blue horizon. Going to deliver Binks' sake, following the sea breeze, riding on the waves, far across the salty depths, the merry evening sun. The birds sing as they draw circles in the sky. Farewell to the harbor, to my old hometown. Let's all sing out with the dawn as the ship set sail. Waves of gold and silver dissolve to salty spray as we all set sail to the ends of the sea. We are pirates sailing through the sea. The waves are our pillows, the ship our roost, flying the proud skull on our flags and our sails. Now comes a storm through the far-off sky. Now the waves are dancing, beat upon the drums. If you lose your nerve, this breath could be your last. But if you just hold on, the morning sun will rise. Today and tomorrow, our dreams through the night. Waving our goodbyes, we'll never meet again. But don't look so down, for tomorrow night, the moon will also rise. Going to deliver Binks' sake. Let's all sing out with the dawn. A song of the waves. Doesn't matter who you are. Someday you'll just be bones. Never ending, ever wandering, our funny traveling tale. Why are we talking about this again? Because Sengoku is probably one of the most important characters in this entire story. Only other mythical Hito no Mi that we have in this entire franchise. While at the same time, Sengoku is the only person to give us real information on Roxty Zebek, or I've dubbed him Ragnarok's-D Zebek, simply due to the idea that he named himself after the taboo erased from the Void Century, most likely taught to him by the former archaeologist and amazing pirate, Clover. Did you know that Clover broke out of Impel Down 10 times? When we're talking about a marine prison, and Clover, in of himself, did ancient research for the entire Void Century, taught Nico Olvia, straight shooter, top 1 mom, and Roxty Zebek being the only person ever addressed in canon by Sengoku, funny enough, as a terrorist, while at the same time, Luffy, way back in Enies Lobby, by definition, was a terrorist, and Sogeking 2 literally burns the Jolly Roger of the Marines. Phrasing was important. Did you know that the flag of the Marines, functionally, is a Jolly Roger? Lodger. So when I go through the poem of Ocean Guide, how is it not the marine equivalent to Binks sake? Both of them are referring to the omniscient ocean. Both of them are referring to their duties, whether those beliefs being different, one conviction being for freedom, the other conviction being for justice. There's nothing happy about being free. That's why the choice is joy for Joy Boy. And for Roxy Zebek at God Valley, it was anarchy. Being free sometimes means starting a war over it. And like all wars, there's gonna be some casualties. So when we're remembering parodies like the Sora Joy Boy comic book, that was a parody of the Germa 300 years prior, being an echoing of Joy Boy's story. It was just a parallel of the Roxy Zebek version. That was a parody of the Luffy / Joy Boy version of that hero of freedom. Funnier still, Sengoku's fruit name has the taboo Imu inside of its original kanji. It's a taboo to be enlightened in One Piece. The wordplay is so important there because cover stories, cover pages, aren't called cover pages in Japan. They call them door pages. They're called tobira. So when we're reading names like Jaguar D. Sol and we're remembering the romanization of that name, if you play around with it, you can read it as Hug War D. Sorrow. I know that sounds a little stupid, but that's what sumo wrestling is. That's what wrestling is. It's a hug war. And if it's a door, then the name in of itself is poetry because we still don't know what the D is, but it very well could be a door to a hug war. And at every war, people get thirsty. So when newly added characters like Cobra D Nefertari get added to the list, we play around with that name too. And you can be read as Nefertardi Cold Brew. So when we remember Hero Water back on Alabasta, that is absolutely a physical knockoff derivative of Binks sake. And then when we remember when Bellamy died, he died amongst the hearts of sailors and then found something indestructible after death on Weaver's Town, the place that makes flags. One of them is a target. Not all of them need to be black, but one of them is also the national flag of Alabasta. So now when we remember the main theme of Alabasta, that being a king that stole the rain, that being a person impersonated by Bon Cray, then I think it's very fair to propose that the Void Century in of itself erased the people that were weaving history, as per what Robin read on the Poneglyph Akin Skypiea about the people who wove history, the Kozuki, and the Skypians, and Alabastans, and the furries on Zoe, and the Sea Kings under Fishman Island, and on Fishman Island. Because there are no dinosaurs in One Piece. They're all just dragons or sea kings. Why are we talking about this again? Because language is the most powerful thing in stories. Let me give you another example. The power of emphasis. The reason why emphasis is incredibly important when speaking is because it actually changes the context of what's being proposed. Perfect examples. What the fuh, what the fuh, and what the fuh are three different questions. When you ask what the fuh, there's usually a what that is being asked about in terms of the fuh is happening. When what the fuh is being asked, it's usually an instance or a thing being asked, the fuh is up with it. And then when you have what the fuh, there's usually a fuh thing that's really frustrating, that's trying to be dissolved, that's trying to be figured out in terms of what the fuh is happening. Three different instances. One refers to a time, one refers to an object, the other one refers to an event. These are all memes, just like ceremonies. Like the thing that the Straw Hats did prior to joining the effing Olympics started by the goof trooper. No, I'm sorry, I really didn't like him. He's so overrated. Why are we talking about this again? Because Zephyr Sensei was a teacher, one of the most important teachers. In fact, according to Film Z, he taught Borsellino. Now remember Second Best Admiral Cruzon. What did Garp teach him? No devil fruit, no hockey, all hands. Punch that battleship. Punch the shit out of it. What did Kobe do? He punched the shit out of an island and he broke its hand. Sengoku in of himself probably did something to Rosinante, working for Dofi and coaching the boy Trafalgar D. Waterlaw. Who's to say that Sengoku was not involved with something happening to Rosinante, former celestial dragon Rosinante, who even knew that the family name of Water was something completely different from the D being an alias, knowing now that people can be anointed into being D-Clan members. Why are we talking about this again? Because of the tried and true tested concept of sakazukis. I love my little red doggo. A sakazuki is a type of ceremony where people share sake cups. And in One Piece, there's usually a holy trinity of people. Ace Sabo Luffy, Sakazuki Borsalino and Kuzan himself, the Monster Yonko trio of Zoro, Jinbei, and Sanji, the Weakling trio of Chopper, Nami, and Usopp, the Otherworldly trio of Robin, Brook, and Frankie, and even the Scientific trio of Clover, Kureha, and Haradas. These are all memes, and it's visual poetry. And Oda is a troll, and these are the most powerful things in this story. So when I genuinely think that Sengoku is gonna go apeshit because of the Marines, probably doing something really messed up at Egghead, there's a lot of weight to it when we remember that Sengoku is the only person to recount to us the idea that Garp was the hero of the Marines, and the consistent musical transition to last segment. The design of the Saint Briss echoes very amazingly to an MC Escher painting called Another World. When speaking on a different work, MC Escher had this to say: "It is impossible for the inhabitants of different worlds to walk or stand or sit on the same floor because they are having differing conceptions of what is horizontal and what is vertical. Yet they may well share the use of the same staircase. On the top staircase illustrated here, two people are moving side by side and in the same direction, and yet one of them is going downstairs and one of them is going upstairs. Contact between them is out of the question because they live in different worlds, and therefore can have no knowledge of each other's existence." This is why I genuinely think that Doflamingo has multiple rings in his eyes. Devil Fruit Awakenings allow you to share knowledge with previous users. That's why Foxy's able to describe an undiscovered particle, and that's how Ace and Asabo are able to talk with each other, and even Trash Dad Yasop in Film Red was able to even communicate with the boy Usopp. That's why Sogeking is probably going to communicate with Usopp when he gets to Elbaf. But if Shiki was able to mirror and foreshadow everything that's happened with Kaido all the way since Punk Hazard, using Film Z as a reference, and the love of what it means to be a hero, and the lack of understanding that Luffy has of being a hero, the power of understanding is the most powerful thing in stories. And that's the power of the Nerona family, because Doflamingo only was able to talk about a national treasure due to awakening his devil fruit, because the national treasure in actuality is fabric. The national treasure map was what Doflamingo was referring to, because that national treasure that was stolen by the red lovely villain Joy Boy were the panties of his ex-wife. Let's talk about the Mother Flame. Viz thought they were really clever in hiding the troll that is Oda's translation of things, but Mazafuremu was what was written in ink by Eiichiro Oda. That's not Japanese. That's a troll. That is wordplay. These power plants that the Vegapunks are trying to be connected to in order to make this Mother Flame even operate and function is literally salt water. What makes me say that? Because in our real life science, right now, today, we use salt water to understand how the core of the sun works. I've been Tachii Spins, and there's beauty in silence. But as Bertold Brecht wrote, "In the dark times, will there also be singing?" Yes. There will be also singing about the dark times.